Have you ever read a book that felt like a wild, fantastical dream, but upon waking, you realized it was actually all about you, about us? Today, we're diving into a literary classic that does exactly that. Jonathan Swift's masterpiece, Gulliver's Travels. Strap in, because this isn't just an old story. It's a timeless funhouse mirror reflecting the absurdities of our own world. Our hero, or perhaps anti-hero, is Lemuel Gulliver, a surgeon with a serious case of wanderlust. He just can't seem to stay on dry land, and thank goodness for that, because his voyages lead him to the most incredible places imaginable. The story kicks off with a shipwrecker classic start to any good adventure. Gulliver washes ashore on an island called Lilliput. He wakes up to find himself a giant, tied down by hundreds of tiny ropes, swarmed by people no taller than his thumb. These are the Lilliputians, and at first glance, they're adorable. They have a whole complex society, a proud emperor, and grand political dramas. But as Gulliver spends more time with them, he starts to notice some odd things. Their biggest political conflicts, for example, revolve around which end of an egg to crack. The Brobdingnags are in a bitter, long-standing feud with the Little Endians. Sound familiar? Swift is already holding up that mirror, showing us how our own supposedly significant political squabbles and religious wars can be just as trivial and ridiculous. The Lilliputians' sense of self-importance is hilarious. They see Gulliver, this immense being they call the Man Mountain, primarily as a weapon to use against their enemies. The neighboring island of Blefuscu. Gulliver helps them by wading across the channel and dragging the entire enemy fleet back with a single rope. He's a hero, but his fame is shrived when he refuses to help the emperor completely enslave the Blefuscudians. He falls out of favor. Politics in Lilliput are fickle. He's accused of treason for, among other things, putting out a fire in the royal palace by lead. Well, let's just say he used a method a giant would find most convenient. Facing persecution, Gulliver builds a boat and makes his escape, leaving the tiny, squabbling world behind. But Gulliver's travels are far from over. His next voyage takes a completely opposite turn. After another maritime mishap, he finds himself in Brobdingnag, the land of giants. Now the tables have turned. Gulliver is the tiny one, a miniature curiosity in a world where everything is enormous. A field of wheat is like a dense forest, a house cat is the size of a tiger, and a simple fall from a table could be fatal. He's found by a farmer who treats him as a pet and a spectacle, making him perform tricks for money. Eventually, he's sold to the Queen of Brobdingnag and becomes a court favorite. The king, a wise and thoughtful ruler, is fascinated by Gulliver. He has long conversations with him about Gulliver's homeland, England. Gulliver proudly describes English politics, laws, wars, and social structures. He expects the king to be deeply impressed, but the king's reaction is one of horror and disbelief. From the giant's perspective, humanity's history, our wars, our betrayals, our greed seems utterly vile and contemptible. The king famously concludes that Gulliver's people must be the most pernicious race of little odious vermin that nature ever suffered to crawl upon the surface of the earth. Ouch. This is a powerful moment of reversal. In Lilliput, Gulliver saw human folly in miniature. In Brobdingnag, he's forced to see it through a magnifying glass. And the view is not pretty. He is the little odious vermin. This part of the journey forces Gulliver and us to confront the moral ugliness that we often take for granted. After several humbling and terrifying adventures, like being carried away by a giant eagle, Gulliver is rescued by a ship and returns home. You'd think he'd have learned his lesson and stayed put, right? Wrong. Gulliver sets sail again, and this time things get even stranger. He visits the flying island of Laputa, a land populated by intellectuals so lost in abstract thought music, mathematics, astronomy that they can't function in the real world. They need servants to gently tap them with a special bladder just to get their attention. They are brilliant but useless, a sharp critique of academia that's detached from reality. But the most profound and unsettling part of his journey is his visit to the land of the Huainums. These are not people, they are horses. Intelligent, rational, and perfectly noble talking horses. They live in a society governed by pure reason and virtue. They have no words for lying or evil because the concepts simply don't exist for them. Their society is a utopia of tranquility and logic. And who are the brutes in this land? A species of vile, savage, humanoid creatures called Yahoots. They are dirty, greedy, aggressive, and driven by base instincts. They are, in every disgusting detail, human. Gulliver is horrified to recognize himself in the Yahoos. He spends his time with a gentle Huano master, learning their language and their ways. He comes to admire them so much that he begins to despise his own kind. He sees humanity as nothing more than glorified Yahoos. This is the ultimate punchline of Swift's satire. Gulliver becomes so disgusted with humanity that when he's finally forced to leave and return to England, he can't stand the sight or smell of his own family. He buys 2 horses and spends most of his time in the stable, trying to converse with them, desperately trying to recapture the rational perfection he found with the Huainums. He's been broken by his travels, his mind warped by the truths he's seen. So, what are we to make of all this? Asterisk Gulliver's Travels. Asterisk is so much more than a simple adventure story. It's a brilliant, scathing, and hilarious satire of human nature. Through the tiny people of Lilliput, Swift mocks our pride and petty conflicts. Through the giants of Brobdingnag, he exposes our moral corruption. And through the Huainums and Yahoos, he questions the very essence of what it means to be human. Are we creatures of reason, or are we just beasts with a thin veneer of civilization? Jonathan Swift wrote this book almost 300 years ago, but its questions are as relevant today as they were then. We still fight our own big Endian versus little Endian wars over trivialities. We still view ourselves as grand and important, while a more objective observer might see us as odious vermin. And we still struggle with the duality of our nature, the rationale and the animalistic. Asterisk Gulliver's Travels. Asterisk invites us to laugh at ourselves, to be humbled, and to think critically about the world we've built. It's a journey worth taking, not just across fantastical seas, but deep into the strange and complex landscape of the human heart. Thank you so much for joining me on this literary voyage. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button, subscribe for more adventures in literature, and let me know in the comments which classic book you'd like to explore next. Until then, keep reading and keep questioning.